Okay, here we go with our last example then. So it says, compare the primary trig ratios of the angles whose terminal arms pass through 3, 4 and negative 3, 4. Okay, so basically 2 points on opposite sides of the y-axis. So let's start with our sketch of the angle whose terminal arm passes through the point 3, 4. So in quadrant 1, we're going to sketch point P, which has coordinates 3, 4, and the terminal arm that goes through point P, and here's our angle theta. Okay, so the length of R in this case will be the square root of 3 squared plus 4 squared. So the square root of 25, which is 5. Now we'll list our trig ratios. So sine theta is y over r, so 4 over 5. Cos theta is x over r, so 3 over 5. And tan theta is y over x, so 4 over 3. Now we want to compare these to the trig ratios for an angle whose terminal arm is in quadrant 2, passing through the point negative 3, 4. So we'll mark that one over here. So this is the point P prime, little tick beside it, okay, because we're comparing it directly to point P. So we're going to call this angle theta prime as well, so that we can differentiate between the two. Okay, and so the length of R prime will be the square root of negative 3 squared plus 4 squared, which is still the square root of 25, so R has not changed. Now, sine ratio for theta prime will be y over r, so 4 over 5. The cosine ratio for theta prime is negative 3 over 5, and the tan ratio for theta prime is negative 4 over 3. So in comparing the two, what we see is the sine ratio stays the same. So whether we're looking at angles in quadrant 1 or quadrant 2 for related angles, okay, so angles that have the same acute angle between their terminal arm and the positive x-axis as these two would, we call those related angles. Okay, another way of saying that is the points on their terminal arms are symmetric across the y-axis. So they have the same sine ratio. Now the cosine ratio is also almost the same, except that in quadrant 2, cosine is negative, okay? And the tan ratios are also almost the same, except in quadrant 2, tangent is negative. Okay, so as a summary here, we could say for any angle, theta, we know that the sine ratio for an angle of 180 degrees minus theta will be the same. When it comes to the cosine ratio, it will be the same but opposite sign. So negative cos 180 minus theta, and same for tan. So tan theta will be equal to negative tan 180 minus theta. Okay, which is basically just a fancy way of saying for the related angles in quadrant 2, the ratios will be the same, but the cosine and tan ratios will be negative. And that concludes this lesson.